Welcome to episode 21. This week we talk about lowering your expectations, where did Superman go, and the mass exodus of talented employees in the marketplace. My guest today is Chris Widener, the president of the American Freedom Tour, and he's here to give us his perspective. I'm Ryan Chamberlin, and for over 25 years I've built businesses, created content, and written books to support entrepreneurs and leaders throughout the United States. I believe in principle over politics and wanted change, so in 2020, I ran for U.S. Congress. Today, I'm spearheading the launch of a new social media platform to promote and protect the values of faith, family, free enterprise, and free speech. Join me as I cover some of the most challenging topics in leadership today. This is Now You Know. Before we jump into our show, let me tell you about TPN. It's a new social media platform that's an alternative to Facebook. I know you're tired of the tracking, canceling, and the direction big tech keeps going, so make a change. Just go to gettpn.net/NYK. It only takes a few seconds to get your account and then download the app. The True Patriot Network is an invitation-only private server platform created by patriots for patriots, and its mission? To promote and protect the values of faith, family, free enterprise, and free speech. So join the soon-to-be millions by going to gettpn.net/NYK and start your journey today. All right, everyone, there's a lot going on here, and I'm excited to kick off this next season of the podcast. We start with episode 21. The reason for that is the first 20 episodes were launched during my campaign for U.S. Congress. We had a specific agenda during 2020 with the podcast, and we learned a lot from it. Now I'm knee-deep, personally, in launching a new value-driven social media platform called TPN. You heard a little bit about it before. And in this process, there's a lot of moving parts. And one of those parts is the amount of great people that I get to meet along the way. So that's how this podcast really is starting back up, continuing on. People that care about our country, they care about the principles it was founded on. You're going to get to meet many of them. And my friends, I'm excited today to be joined with a friend of mine, our guest, Chris Widener. He's an author of 20 books, a member of the Speaker Hall of Fame, the founder of Politicrossing, where faith meets politics, and is now the president of the American Freedom Tour. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Well, man, thanks for being here. Listen, before we dive into our main talking points, I'd like our viewers and listeners to get to know you a little bit. Tell us about your background. How did you end up here, and where'd you come from?
Well, it was a very circuitous route. I had a crazy upbringing, raised in Seattle. My first 50 years were in Seattle. 28 homes, 11 different schools. My dad died when I was 4. My mom shipped me off to live with relatives twice. I got involved in drugs, like in the 6th grade, drugs and alcohol, really going in the wrong direction. Got my life turned around the summer before my senior year of high school, went and got a degree in youth and family work, and started as a public speaker talking about at-risk youth and overcoming the challenges of high school and those kinds of things. I was a pastor for 14 years, from 1988 to 2002, and then I started writing and speaking full-time, and worked with 3 of the big legends, John Maxwell, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. I spent 7 years working with Jim Rohn, and then wrote his last book called The 12 Pillars, had a TV show with Zig Ziglar, ended up in the Motivational Speakers Hall of Fame, got involved in politics with a friend of mine who ran for governor. That got me involved in politics, and they all just sort of merged recently, my pastoral side, my public speaking side, my political side, and we launched the American Freedom Tour. So that's a quick overview of how I got here.
You know, your background is one of a few that I have of people I know where I read the background, I say, there's no way this guy has done all this stuff. He'd have to be like 118 years old to be able to accomplish all this. But you have had your hands in a lot of different things. And it all, you know, what's cool about watching you and knowing you over the last 20 years, everything you've done has really come from a certain value base, it all has intertwined from a value standpoint. And I appreciate that about you. So let's jump into a couple of things today with you. And I want to set the stage for this because what we're talking about are not necessarily Republican, Democrat, Independent. We're going to talk about American values here for a little bit. And so I want you, for this context, forget about the word Republican, Democrat, Independent. And I want to read to you 3 headlines that are, pretty much anybody could pick up a paper today, and these would be the headlines they'd read. And I want to get your perspective based on all the interactions you've had, what you're involved in now, your perspective on them. So let me read these to you. Here's number 1. Headline, lowering your expectations. Lowering American expectations. There's a headline. We're going to talk about that one. Here's another one. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. So eliminating the words American way from Superman. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And here's the last one I want to read to you, and we'll get your perspective on them, see how they intertwine. But here's one that jumped out at me today. Nearly 1,900 Washington State employees. I picked that because I knew you lived in Washington. Quit or were fired over mandate. So hit me with your perspective on these types of topics that seem to be randomly circulating. I mean, I pulled up a couple of news reels today, and there's 10 or 15 of these types of headlines that are being constantly discussed just in the last 24, 48 hours. So give us a Chris Widener perspective on that.
Well, there are people in America who hate America. They hate America. They hate what America is. They hate what America stands for. They believe that that white men came in, raped and pillaged the land and the people, and stole it from others, and enslaved people to build the country, and therefore it's all illegitimate. And that the riches that we experience, the blessings that we experience, were stolen from others and used other people in order to get them, and therefore it's illegitimate. And that we need to be taken down a notch. We should not be the leading country in the world. We need to be poorer. Poorer countries need to be wealthier, and they need to be wealthier by taking from the richer countries. So it's a fundamental worldview in which they exist, and therefore you need to lower your expectations. You're not going to get better and better life. You're not going to have better and better technology. You're not going to have all those kinds of things. You're going to, as the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset says, you won't own a house and you'll be happy. And, and so truth, justice, and the American way, well, they hate the American way. And so the American way can't be what it is that we follow. And then I think the last one, Jay Inslee, the governor of Washington State, who I have friends who actually work with Jay Inslee and have to interact with him, and they say that literally he's the dumbest guy you've ever met. And if you can't talk sports, you can't actually have a conversation with him, because 90% of the conversation with the guy revolves around sports, because he's like an old high school jock who happened to end up governor of one of the 50 states. And this is really about crushing dissent. It's about driving America into dystopia. If people will go and look up Cloward Piven, Cloward-Piven, Piven, they were 2 professors 50 years ago who wrote a theory on how you could bankrupt America and take over the country. And it's about driving us into bankruptcy and dystopia. And I think a lot of the firing of police officers and defunding police and that was to create such bad cities that the cities would then cry out to the feds, and the feds would come in with a nationalized police force. And that's exactly what's happening in Chicago now. They won't take any help, or they won't keep, their officers, and everybody's quitting. But now they're yelling for the feds to come in, because there is one side of our country that is all for nationalism and federalism, and the other is more about states' rights. And so I think what Inslee's doing out there is just trying to, first of all, create an enemy, which is the folks who won't get vaccinated, and target them, alienate them, isolate them, so that there's an enemy which allows them to take more power. So you have a fundamental worldview that believes that the old has to be destroyed. And the old is not good, even though it's developed the greatest country in the history of the world.
Chris, and I want to remind our viewers, this perspective, really, we're not talking, in reality, we're not talking politics here. We're talking fundamental values and the ways people think, and just the headlines that are continuing to come out that absolutely go against what this country was founded on. So, Chris, I want to lead into our next section with 4 words, which are the tagline to the new organization that you've helped found and create, and that I believe is going to really help, share the American value, the American way. It really is. Faith, family, finance, and freedom. If we really evaluate the categories of the topics and even the things we discussed today, they fall into these words. So tell us about the American Freedom Tour, what it's all about, how did it come about, and what its mission is, I guess, going forward.
Yeah, so it's my belief, and I think anybody would, who's paying attention would know this. The last 5 years, conservatives have been beaten and beaten and beaten. Starting with Hillary Clinton saying, we're a basket of deplorables, and we're to blame, and then the president that we elected was horrible, and all the things, he's a Russian asset, proven false, all the things that were thrown our way, and it really marginalized a lot of people who have valid political beliefs. I am of the belief that we need everybody, right, left, center, extreme right, extreme left. We need everybody to be able to say their piece so that everybody can hear all sides of the story and make their own decisions. I believe in the free flow of information and the exchange of ideas. That's how you create an informed electorate. And so we want freedom. We thought, well, why don't we put together something that can encourage and inspire and motivate conservatives across the country. And I love what one writer wrote about our first event. He said it was part political convention, part motivational rally, and part religious revival. And I like that. It was kind of a little bit of a convention, a little bit of a rally, and a little bit of a revival. My overarching goal was to inspire conservatives. So, the last 18 months, they've not only been told they're horrible, they've been locked in their house and told they're horrible. And so we want to get people out. We want to get them into large events where they can look around and see, hey, I'm not the only one. There's people that believe the same thing I do. Somebody said once, when you show courage, you give others backbone. And that's really what we want to do. We want to put some of the best speakers in our country, conservative speakers in our country, on stage, create a rally, let people get together for a couple days. We teach them about how to increase their finances. We teach them about how to have better families, and we teach them about how to deepen their faith.
Awesome stuff. Your next event is in Arizona, I hear. I just so happened to be at the one in Jacksonville. It was fabulous. On just to tag in on what you were saying about people getting excited there, people got excited about all aspects of what we're talking about, the faith, family, finance, and freedom. I mean, when you get a group of people excited about praying for their country, excited about the future of their country, reminded of the greatness of their country. And here's what I loved about the event. It was really a tremendous amount of positivity coming from the platform about topics that aren't always positive according to today's media. So very, very exciting. It was good for anyone that lives in this country, any American, to be able to attend. Tell us about the next event coming up. I'm going to put the link to that event for those that want to attend or just really dig in and find out, because I'm sure you're going to have more of these is the plan. But right now we're focused on here this next month. Tell us about where that's going to be and maybe some plans going forward.
Yeah, it's November 19th and 20th right here in Phoenix, Arizona. You can fly in from anywhere you can fly in from. It'd be fun to have you. And it's 2 full days focusing on faith, family, finances, and freedom. And we're helping people in every single one of those areas. In regard to finances, conservatives now more than ever have to have their finances in control. For example, those 1,900 people that got fired. What are they going to do to feed their families? Many of them are only trained in one particular thing. Think about people that don't have a college education and they make $4,000 a month, and now somebody says, here's a mandate, do it or else you lose your job. Those folks, if they don't have financial alternatives and financial opportunities and understand how to take control of their own finances, they're going to be stuck. They're stuck. They're literally given a moral decision, and they don't have the financial resources to allow them to make the decision they want to make. They're forced instead to do something they don't want to do in order to keep a roof over their children's heads. So we want to teach people how to make money and invest and take control of their own financial situations. And we want to teach people how to raise positive children and have happy marriages and loving, kind relationship with their spouse. And we want to teach people about how to deepen their faith and to understand the traditional Judeo-Christian worldview of the United States and how that has driven progress. At the last one I talked about, at the Jacksonville event, I talked about what would happen, and there was a book written, what would happen if you took the church out of the world. Every church, every food bank, every orphanage, every hospital that was founded by faith-based people, and not just Christian, any of the hospitals that were driven by people's faith in God. And so I think it's terribly important for us to renew our faith. And frankly, I think while politics is something I love, and I mean it's my business and my life, the only thing that saves America is revival. And I really believe that, a turning back to God and an understanding of who we are and where we're to go. So that's our message, and people loved it. And we had great reviews, even from the press. In fact, even from the other political side, they went to them and asked them their opinion, and they said it looked like a pretty good, exciting event. I don't think it'll necessarily, change differently daily, but it looked like an exciting event. And I thought, wow, that was kind of nice of the guy to say. So,
everyone, and Chris, thanks for being on with us. Our guest today was Chris Widener. You can go to chriswidener.com to check out all the things that Chris is involved in. I'm going to highly recommend that you add Politicrossing, a company that Chris founded, as one of your news resources, a place to go to check out ongoing dialogue and to hear more of what you heard of today from Chris at politicrossing.com, where faith intersects with politics. I believe I said that the right way.
Yep,
and then, of course, exactly. Check out the American Freedom Tour. Chris is the president of this. He's one of the gentlemen that founded it, put it together, and he's now leading the way. And we invite you to attend, if not this one of the future American Freedom Tour events. Chris, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, yeah, and they can jump on over to AmericanFreedomTour.com.
And that wraps up this episode, but there's two quick things still to do. First, click the subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening so that you don't miss the next episode. And then share this on one or all the platforms that you're on. And remember, you can get social on the new value-driven platform called TPN. That's True Patriot Network. Just go to www.gettpn.net/NYK. Now you know.